Most speakers know that they need a demo reel. Very few know what it's really for. If you think your demo reel is there to impress people who stumble across your website, you've built the wrong thing. Bookers aren't looking for the highlight reels of your best moments. They want to know what your audience is going to get from you and whether you can deliver it under pressure in a room full of strangers. In this episode of Professional Speaking, I'm talking with Bernadette Marciniak, a video producer who works specifically with speakers and event organizers. She's been on both sides of the camera and both sides of the booking conversation, which makes her take on this unusually useful. We're covering what a demo reel is actually for, what a sizzle reel is, and why most speakers get the two confused. How to start building footage when you have no stages yet, and what bookers are actually watching for when they press play on your demo. Welcome to Professional Speaking, the show for people who are serious about speaking and becoming known, booked, and paid. My name's John Ball, professional speaking coach, keynote speaker, stand-up comedian, and sci-fi nerd. I'm here as your guide on the journey to a successful speaking career. I am very happy to welcome to the Professional Speaking podcast, Bernadette Marciniak. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
It's a delight to be speaking to you. And I've wanted to come back to the topic of demo videos for quite some time, and that's where we're going to spend some time today. And I know that one of the things what we talked about before recording was that there's these different tracks for it, like whether you're speaking as a business or whether you're speaking to bring in business. And so before we get into all that, which side do you fall on there? Are you speaking as a business or for your business?
Yeah, so I am somebody who is speaking to bring in business. Who knows where the winds may take me someday. The spotlight is tantalizing and attractive, as I'm sure it is to many. But as of right now, I'm having a really great time having speaking engagements put eyes on my business.
Great. And so just to give us a sense of like your speaking career, like how long have you been speaking and roughly how many speaking engagements do you have roughly in a year?
Within a year, I'd say I do probably a handful, 3 to 4, and there's a variety of different ones, from stages to leading workshops. I personally count podcast interviews as speaking engagements. I know that
True.
some folks might not agree with that, but it's all about visibility and PR at the end of the day, especially in my case. So I count podcast interviews as speaking engagements. I've been speaking for about a decade now. Yeah.
What first got you up on stage as a speaker?
Ooh, that's a good question. The one that's coming to mind right now is when I actually won an award for a community that I was part of. And I knew that it was a business community. So I was receiving an award within this business community. And we all gave about 10-minute thank you speeches. But that was a moment to also put a spotlight on your business and what you do, because there were a lot of people in attendance that may not have heard of me. It was also a networking opportunity for folks who were not in the community. And so that was the one that is, I think, the one that was most transformative, and I caught the bug and I was like, oh, I need to do more of this. I really loved the energy of being up on stage, and I rehearsed my talk a bunch of times, and I practiced like the cadence and the pacing and everything, and I really enjoyed it.
Great. And that's definitely something you would want to be practiced and rehearsed for, but also a really nice reason to be up on stage as well. So great, a good event. And I can definitely associate with getting the bug for wanting to be up there and do more, especially once you've been practicing and running through and coming up thinking, oh yeah, that went great. That's a really good experience. So it's great that speaking has been a part of your business for quite some time now. And certainly some of our listeners may have similar length of time in the industry, or maybe much less, maybe just coming to this fresh and still fairly new. But it's good to know that we all start from small things that give us a lead into doing this for the business. So was that where you also really saw that there was an opportunity for you to use speaking as a lever, a platform for your business more often, or was it just actually more fun that led to more business?
No, actually, it was, and I had already been learning about this, so I knew that was kind of the goal with speaking. But I also had proof of concept after getting up on stage and accepting the award because a lot of folks actually reached out to me afterwards and were asking about my services. They said, "We loved your energy on stage. We love the way, you approach things. And I would love to, work with you." And so I actually ended up getting a couple of clients out of that one speaking engagement.
Great. That's fantastic. And that's what it's all about a lot of the time. Let me ask you this, for our listener, for our professional speaker who's tuning into this, we've come here to talk specifically about demo videos as well. So,
Mm.
what is a demo video and why do they need to think about this?
Yeah, so demo video, or I know over here in the US we call them speaker reels, same thing. So it's a kind of like a culmination of the best of your speaking moments. And listen, if you're starting out and you might not have a huge library yet, uh, there's still going to be a thorough line between all of your talks. Something that you like say or hint to from talk to talk that's along the same message. And so it's about a 2-minute video. I say you don't want to go over much longer, maybe 3 minutes at the most. But even I think at that point, attention spans start falling.
Yeah.
But the reason you want to have a speaker reel is uh, you want to be able to send it out to event organizers so that they can, see what your speaking presence is like, how you appear on stage, and also what your message is. Now, of course, there's the expectation that your message is probably going to evolve over time. But regardless, that's why you're going to get it updated, every few years or whenever, you feel like you're making a big pivot or something like that. But those are the two main reasons why you need one, is to show your presence and to show what your message is going to be.
Yeah, I think that's important what you said as well, because I find that a lot of speakers get confused as to what the purpose of the demo video is.
Mhm.
But a lot of people know they need to have it, but they don't always seem to know what it's for and think it's more for public awareness of them rather than being
Okay.
something that's a kind of like a short ad or taster for the people
Yeah.
who can book you.
Yeah, well, so there's a few things that I'd love to say to that point. First of all, I've worked on both sides of the coin here. I have been a speaker and I have also been capturing video at events where there are speakers. I work specifically with speakers and with the event organizers. And I will say that there are like the conversation in like with the event organizers is that so many folks are still not sending in videos. And so the immediate way to stand out is to attach a speaker reel or some sort of evidence of you up on stage. That's not to say that you will immediately get disqualified if you don't, but you will immediately stand out if you do.
I think that's really important for people to understand as well, and I hope it sinks in for people because I think it's good to know that you absolutely can still get booked without a demo, but if you really want to stand out,
Mhm.
it's going to make a big difference for you.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that some folks see it as a form of public awareness. I
Yeah.
think the reason that happens is that a lot of speaker reels are not made or produced with this vision in mind of, for lack of better terms, telling a story. What I really mean is like having your message, having your thorough line displayed through the video. What I see a lot of speaker reels, demo videos show is just some like a compilation of mic drops and sound bites that may
Right.
not necessarily be reflective of what you want to be known for. And, the video might be great, the audio might be great, whatever, but if that storyline isn't there, then yeah, then it does become a, "Hey, look at what I do, like, I'm really cool up on stage," not, hey, hire me because this is what I'm going to give to your audience. Event organizers are looking specifically for what you're going to provide for their audience. And there's no better way to show that than proof of concept in a video.
Yeah. And my take is this, that I think some of the confusion with this comes from the fact that some speakers do have what we call more of a sizzle reel, which is like some of their highlights, or as you say, the mic drop moments. And that is meant for the public. That's not really meant for the bookers. That's just meant to, like, you land on a website and maybe you have other services as well. You say, hey, wow, that looks great. That looks really glossy and shiny. But that's not what the bookers are looking for to book you. They're looking for a demo a bit different. And I think I tend to think that's where the confusion has come from, that there is that difference between the sizzle reel that is for the public and sort of like, hey, look at me, aren't I great? And then there's the one for the bookers. It's like,
Right.
are
Yeah.
you actually going to be any good if we book you for our event?
Yeah. And, there's a place for both, honestly.
Sure.
Like, even
Yeah.
if you currently have that version of a reel that's just the mic drops, that still lends itself to really great content. Public awareness, brand awareness is really important when you are, especially if you are building a speaker business as your main source of revenue, but also if you're using speaking as a way to funnel more eyes onto your business. Content is content, and I know that we're like all overwhelmed with content, but it exists, it's there, and the people who are going to resonate will resonate with it. So it does all have a place. It's not completely useless. But if you are looking to get on more stages, then you need this demo reel that has that thorough line.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because I've asked this only to a handful of people ever on the show because it's not always relevant to everybody. But when it comes to demo videos, do you personally feel that it's better to have a demo video even if it's not great, or that a bad demo reel should not go up on your website? As like better to have a bad demo reel than no demo reel at all?
I mean, first of all, it doesn't need to live on your website. I would say it's better to have one and be intentional on how you distribute it and where you distribute it. The reason I would say it's better to have one than not at all, especially if you're trying to land more speaking engagements, is that you are still giving a glimpse to event organizers about your presence on stage, about how, you're engaging with their audience, interacting with their audience, what their audience is going to get from you, which is really hard to describe otherwise in written word, or, to just try to explain it. So my personal take is use what you have with the intention of always aiming to make it better.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good suggestion. My experience has been working with clients that it's a good thing to have, but it's also important to define what actually would be a bad demo reel. And I think it's really just going to be something that doesn't reflect you well. So it doesn't, or that maybe
Yeah.
maybe the sound isn't fantastic, maybe the lighting isn't fantastic, or the camera was done on maybe it's filmed on an iPhone or something like that. That doesn't necessarily make it a bad demo, but something that won't
I
be
I
like,
I agree. Yeah.
yeah,
I would say we want the best quality, especially if we're gonna be going out and paying for professional video, audio, whatever. Sometimes, lighting, audio is not in your control because of the way the event is organized. That being said, even some sort of snippet on an iPhone, as long as you can clearly hear what's being said, I I'll say the examples of demo reels, speaker reels that I have found underwhelming are the ones that like lean in way too much on fancy B-roll. We don't care about that. It's great to have B-roll of audience engaging and interacting, nodding
yes,
along, laughing and whatnot. But I've seen these like cinematic productions of the sweep of the whole, like, that's unnecessary. And that's
I've seen that
something
too.
that I see a lot of speakers like, that's the one and only shot they keep reusing. And I'm like, I know nothing about what you're actually talking about.
I think I was talking with a lady called Maria Franzoni recently. I don't know if you've heard of Maria, but she's great on the subject as well. And we had a little chat about demo reels in a much bigger conversation. But one of the things that she was saying specifically that she hates seeing in these demo reels, and I do agree with her to a point, is the video testimonials from people in the audience. That whilst you want to include your testimonials, it's far better to have some text on the screen than have someone else coming up and speaking, because it is much quicker. And also, remember, this is for your bookers. They haven't come to hear people at your events talking about you, but they want to see that they don't want to spend a lot of time with it. They want to watch you on the demo video. What would be your take on that? Do you kind of agree with that?
I can see how that makes sense if you're sending it out primarily to event organizers. My one pushback on it is if you are using a speaker reel, a demo video as if you're using your speaking engagements to get more business, it might not be the worst thing in the world to have those testimonials in there as kind of like a hybrid of an intro video to you and evidence of you, sharing your expertise out in the wild. I actually did create a video like that for a client where it was a hybrid of a video business card where she also spoke directly to the camera saying who she was and what she does. We included testimonials and a whole bunch of clips from her speaking engagements. And we made that video back in 2021 and she's still using it to this day and she's getting up on stages. So I think it depends on.
It depends. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on which stages I think you're going to try to be on.
That makes sense. Maria is much more focused on people who are primarily speaking as their business than people who are using speaking to grow their business. So that context does make sense. And she may well concede that as well. In certain cases, it's probably a good thing. I'll have to see if I can ask her about that at some point. But yeah, fantastic. So let me ask you this. There may be maybe a listener hasn't yet done a demo video. And so I think, well, okay, where do I even get started with this? What do I need to be thinking about? And how do I put this together? How would you guide somebody to getting started with a demo video?
Sure. So if you're first starting out, I would utilize any way you can to get video footage of your speaking engagements, and no matter how small or big they are. If you are speaking at an event where there's going to be an in-house media team, ask if they're going to be recording all the full keynotes. Some places aren't, but I will say that what I offer to my clients who are throwing the events, who are organizing the events, is to let their speakers know that I am on site. And even though I'm not hired to capture all the speakers and keynotes for them, I am available to capture at an additional cost, obviously, for individual speakers. I actually just did that last week. And so that's how, like, if there's a media team on site, definitely utilize them. If there's not, I would definitely start out with finding a local videographer. I would make sure that they know how to do audio and video. Not all videographers are created equal. And so somebody might say, oh, I know how to do video. And they might think, oh, it's easy enough to just get video of somebody speaking. But, you need to either mic somebody up or be able to plug into the soundboard and capture audio that way. And so start building a little library for yourself of your speaking engagements that way. I would say, like, if all else fails, we're gonna lean on the iPhone, but at the very least, make sure that you have a microphone that you can plug into your iPhone. Those like little microphones that content creators use. You can find them easily on Amazon.
Yeah,
so
and
at
they're
least
expensive.
have clean audio. Yeah, they work great. I use them with my clients. And so at least you have clean audio, and ask a friend to stand and, monitor the video, make sure that nobody just like stands in front of the shot while you're recording it on the iPhone. We want to make sure that it's a flattering angle and not, like from down above. But realistically, you want to be hiring somebody to take video of you at your speaking engagements. And ultimately, I think the best move would be finding somebody to partner with for half a year, depending on, how many engagements you have and in what time frame, so that everything looks consistent for the final product of a demo reel and for your content and brand awareness in general. And so it's not looking like it's just like piecemeal from everywhere. You want to have some brand identity behind what you're capturing.
So let's say we've got a bunch of events that we've done that have been filmed, and now it's time to put the demo video together. Are we going to leave that in the hands of the videographer, or are we going to be actively involved in that process? Are we just going to be using clips from those, or are we going to be using other media and content in with that? Or what would be your recommendations there?
So I would say, again, not all videographers are created equal. So just because somebody can capture good quality audio and video doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to weave a story that, has that storyline, that thorough line through it. So I would see if the person that if you are going to partner with somebody, for the year, ideally, they can do both. They know how to capture good quality and they know how to produce good quality, in that there is a story at the end of it. If you're working with, various videographers, because perhaps you're going, to a lot of different locations, you're speaking all over the country or the continent, then it's, you get the good quality video, but then it's still important to have somebody to produce it that has the ability to do that thorough line.
I like the point you're making about making these things too flashy as well, because I certainly think some people seem to think they have to make a huge investment into having the top flashiest demo video that they can have that's going to wow the bookers and get them booked for every event. And yet I've seen some of these where people have spent several $1,000s on a demo video, and it's come back and it's like it's all just show. It's more like that sizzle reel. There's no depth to it. There's no through line, as you say. So there's no clarity about no beginning, middle, or end. I can't see really what you like on stage other than a few clips or where you've got your audience maybe going yeah or clapping, whatever. And we want to see more. We need to see more than that. So what kind of content is it? Just the talks that go into the demo reel, or would you put other content in there as well?
So I would say it all depends on what your ultimate goals are. I have clients who are just set on wanting to get on more stages. And at that point, you want to show just stages. If your goal is to use your speaking engagements, whether that is podcasts, TV interviews, workshops, stages, if you're trying to get more of all of the above, then I would say having evidence of everything, one clip from each of those avenues in your demo video. Yeah. So it ultimately comes down to your goals of, where you want to be appearing more. And I've done videos for clients both ways, where we're pulling in TV interviews and podcast interviews and appearances on stages. But this also means that you have to be really diligent about keeping everything organized, downloading it as soon as you get it, essentially creating and building a media library that is very easy to navigate around for both you and whoever is producing your reel later.
Right. That would be my downfall. Excuse the church bells in the background here. This is Spain, life in Spain. But yeah, it's character. So this is all super important. So it definitely depends on what your objectives are with the demo video as to what kind of content you should probably put in there. We have a bit of an idea of the time frame and things like that. What are the touches for you that make it that bit more professional without it having to become some big production?
I'll say that my personal belief is that we don't need to make it fancy. We're using what we have. We've we're working with what we've got and with the ultimate goal in mind and with the ultimate message in mind. And that, I think, time and time again is going to be what beats out, anything flashy or anything else, is to have that story. I know it's a buzzword now. I hate saying it, but it still matters. And that is like it's the thing that people hate to hear about, but the thing that matters most. And that's the special touch, is something so basic. Yeah.
If someone is thinking, and "Hi, it was all good and well, but I don't have any opportunities to get on stage just yet. I'm just getting started and don't have access to a stage that I could record on just at the moment anyway, or certainly not to an audience right now." Are there any other things that they could do that would still be helpful for them for a demo?
Absolutely. So I would say that, first of all, you can always hire a videographer to come and rent out a room that looks like it's not like a room in a house, although it could still be, depending on, what kind of speaking engagements you're getting after, because there's a lot of opportunity for to speak at smaller retreats and workshops and stuff like that. So hire a videographer, and even if it's just you, or what I've done with some of my clients is somebody organizes it, obviously with my help, where they get a bunch of their friends together, and because everybody has the same common goal of having evidence of them speaking. And so everybody goes around for 5 minutes, they speak to their audience, quote unquote, and it's all captured on video. We also take photographs, because photographs should also be captured. It's not just about the video. We need all of these pieces of media. And so you could just start by creating the opportunity yourself with something like this. Now, don't discredit also, like what I was saying earlier, the workshops, the little retreats, the smaller, local things that you can do, where you can speak to an audience and, again, hire somebody to capture the video that way, unless there's going to be somebody there on site. And then lastly, I'd say, again, let's not forget about podcast interviews. If you really don't have the budget to start out with hiring somebody, or haven't quite gotten the ability to present at, these local workshops or retreats, podcast interviews are a really great way to get, your feet wet, to just test out the waters and get evidence of you speaking. This is still a speaking engagement. There's still
Yeah.
an audience right now. At this current moment, my audience is you. And then after this goes live, the audience will be however many people listen to this episode. So it still counts.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you can do all of these little things while you're starting out and building. We all start somewhere, right?
Yeah, and as you say, probably in a few years' time, you'll want to re-record and improve it. And I think it is a good thing to come back and upgrade your demos, if only because in 2 or 3 years' time, you might look a little bit different yourself, and you might be your talks might be a little different. You're going to have developed and evolved, and it is something that should develop with you.
I would also say, though, because I think there's this mindset that, you do your first beginner reel or demo video now, and that in 2 to 3 years time to burn it all down and create something completely new. The idea is not to do that. It's to continue building on what you've created. And, at some point, some parts of your demo of, some clips of you speaking are not going to be relevant anymore. Sometimes you might use stuff from a decade ago because it still stands the test of time, and it's still relevant to what you're talking about. So it's not about completely reinventing the wheel every few years. It's about building upon what you already have.
Yeah, and gosh, if you've got a bit of your demo or bit of video that you absolutely love or that people really respond well to, why would you want to pull that out? Absolutely keep
Yeah.
it in there. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense to me. We don't have to burn the house down to start building it all up again, and that's probably useful for a lot of people to know, because and you said we all have to start somewhere. Begin. I was thinking that even if what you have is like not from one of your keynote talks, you've got footage of you, I don't know, in a doing storytelling or from your Toastmasters clubs and that, it's still going to be helpful for somebody to see what you sound like, what your energy is like. Bookers are looking to have confidence that they can put you on a stage and they're going to have some sense of what you're going to be able to deliver or do in front of an audience, and which is one of the reasons why I do think it is, if you can, it is good to actually be filmed with an audience there so they can see, all right, you're not just there, you are actually in front of people delivering this, because some people obviously do have fear and panic attacks when they get put up on stage in front of audiences.
Yeah. So exactly. That's why I mentioned earlier gathering your small community to show that there's butts in the seats, for lack of a better term. But that's the ultimate goal for the event organizers too. That's why, they're hiring you, is to attract people to come to their event. That's a very interesting idea. I wonder if Toastmasters, like if you're going to Toastmasters and you've been practicing or something, if they'd allow you to bring a videographer, especially if if the videographer is only going to get like the backs of heads of people. And you can also, offer that to the other people there, saying like, hey, I'm bringing in a videographer and they're available to you, probably at an extra cost. But, it's about a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you have to be the one to create that opportunity for a community, then I personally don't think there's anything better than that.
I do think, as someone who trains and coaches speakers, that I generally advise people to film everything, because they need
Yeah.
to watch it back, and they probably need to watch it back with someone else with them as well. But you're never really going to see or sense what you're doing on stage unless you watch yourself back. And I think some people just get a little antsy about that. They're like, oh, I don't like
Oh
hearing myself. I
man.
don't like seeing myself. It's like,
Yeah.
just have to get over it.
You
Unfortunately.
really do. I can completely resonate with folks who don't want to watch the Monday video, as we call it here in the United States, with football, to watch yourself do it again, to give yourself, feedback and see what you're like. It is, as the millennials call it, so cringe.
Yeah.
But the sooner, let's just accept, yes, it sucks. Yes, it's cringe. Yes, it's awful. And we're going to do it anyway, because there's no other way around it. It has to be done. Whether, you're giving yourself notes or you're trying to, get clips together for a speaker reel demo video, then you're going to need to watch yourself at one point or another.
Yeah. So if
I
not just,
will,
if it's not, if not for
sorry,
the
no,
demo
I
video,
will,
at least for your own development, right?
I'm sorry.
If the video is not for your demo reel, it's at least helping with your development.
100%. I will say, a lot of the time when we're looking at the video, and because I also know that there's an element of perhaps not loving the way we look on video. And that is just also crapshoot, because you never know what the lighting situation is going to be. You never know how it's going to come out on video. Again, we're all our own worst enemies here. We're our own worst critics. And so literally nobody else is going to be looking at it with the same critical lens you are. But it's only going to benefit you in the end.
Yeah. I don't know if you come across this. I haven't, but I'm suspecting it might come up, of people perhaps being tempted to use AI generated videos in their demo reels.
I have not come across that yet. If I did, it would be do you mean that they would have AI generated examples of them speaking?
You could potentially, couldn't you? An AI video generated of you on the stage with an audience, and they're all, I know, giving you a standing ovation. Do it. I don't know how good it would be, but I suspect that these things are going to start appearing.
I'm obviously, I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they started appearing. I would say I could see the benefit to doing it like once. If you are, again, at the beginning, I think you would still have to feed it some sort of audio to
Right.
have it create a
Yeah.
video
I've never
around it.
tried to create something like that, so I
Yeah, me
don't know
neither.
exactly, but yeah,
I
I
would like, if you're looking to be on stage in front of real people, then it would be a disservice to offer footage that is inauthentic. But I'm sure that's something event organizers are going to start dealing with sooner or later. But I think that's also a really quick way to earn a reputation for not getting hired. You'll quickly become a one and done deal, and people won't want to have you back.
yeah, I think it's more of a credibility burner than anything else. Probably something to steer clear of. But, ultimately, if you are actually out there doing some speaking, there's no reason to do an AI video of yourself anyway. I think is more for like the people who are perhaps trying to look like they're further ahead than they are, the sort of fake it till they make it kind of people. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
The and that being said, there are some AI tools that could be helpful in producing a demo reel or a speaker
Sure.
reel. I would say I know that we are trying really hard not to, like, as a speaker, to have filler words say and ah too much. But if you get, the idea is, yes, try to not say those as much as possible. But if they are in the speech or in a talk or in the way that you talk, getting rid of them is also going to be a quick way to have a disconnect in authenticity when you show up on stage versus it being not in the
Agreed.
video.
Yeah.
But I do know that there's also tools that now, like, might help, like, if there's like a word missing at the end of a sentence or something, and like having that
Yeah.
one word there and being able to put like B-roll over that, I could see being useful. I don't see that as inauthentic. I see that as like thought completion. And I would
Yeah.
also, again, use it sparingly, not as, a crutch that you go to lean on all the time.
No, 100%. No, I think that there are things that can help clean up your audio. They might even help be able to enhance video images and things like that without changing things too dramatically, but would improve that. So I think there are AI tools that are potentially helpful to having a more polished demo video that you could certainly use. And undoubtedly the ones that can help you, with Canva tools and stuff, you can put some text on the screen and have little bits of B-roll or even just links between each of the sections, or so it blends more naturally between the segments of your video. So I think there's a lot of tools that potentially could help you to deliver a decent demo video. But let me ask you this, probably closer to one of the final questions of this, but what sort of budget would you recommend somebody have or invest into creating a demo video?
Well, so this all is going to come down to whether it's a whole cost, because it's not just about creating the video at the end, but about capturing it at the through the year, getting the footage and the media that you need throughout a certain time frame. You're going to find, as with anything, a wide variety of price ranges from videographer to videographer, video editor to video editor. And I'll say there's some of the cheapest folks might do a great job. They might be diamonds in the rough, but more often than not, you're going to find that there's some place that they fall short, whether it's the way they frame the speaking in your video of you on stage, or the audio sounds horrible. I think, those are the two big ones to watch out for, no matter the price, whether they're, on the high end or the low end. But for the production of the video at the end, the demo video at the end, you do want to work with somebody who is more experienced in weaving together stories. Again, I'm going to use that word again. Not somebody who can just say, oh, I can put together a speaker reel for you, because then you will end up with that sizzle reel of mic drops and sound bites. It has to be somebody who is familiar with marketing, familiar with branding, familiar with your brand and your goals, to be able to produce the video at the end that's going to be reflective of all of that. And those folks are going to be on the higher end of the pricing spectrum.
Yeah. Do you think there's also value to having longer versions or longer clips of your talks available for potential bookers to check out as well?
Sure. I think that it's actually super important to do that because, first of all, like any video that you get of you speaking, that media library that I've been talking about throughout the course of this episode should not just live in the depths of your Dropbox. It should also be on your YouTube. You don't have to post it on your website, but like have a YouTube channel and start like having a little library there. The idea is not to grow a YouTube channel. It is to have a place to send folks, event organizers or whoever needs examples of you speaking, where everything is, in one space. And so once they watch that demo video of you speaking, I know that a lot of event organizers will also want to see a longer example, because a demo video, again, is still only 2 minutes long. We are, along with the story, picking the best moments, the best delivery, especially if you're saying similar versions of everything the same, throughout multiple talks. But a full keynote recording is going to give an event organizer evidence of how you appear on stage and how you interact with the audience throughout an entire keynote or speaking engagement, not just how you appear for 30 seconds. And so that's why I like to have everything, whether you're using your YouTube for other things, have a playlist of your speaking engagements. You don't have to share the link, far and wide unless you want to. And unless you're doing some serious SEO work or something about your description or caption pops off and for whatever reason becomes viral, nobody's going to go searching for it, but you still have this really great library of content that you can show to event organizers or, like I said, whoever else might need it.
Yeah. And you can keep that stuff unlisted, so it's not just
Yeah.
going to be showing up in search as well. I think that's really important. Bookers as well, they're probably not going to watch the whole 45-minute keynote, but they are going to skip through it and try and catch different bits, and maybe want to see if you're doing anything interactive with the crowd, or maybe listen to you telling a story, or see how you open and close, or how you handle transitions. All those kinds of things they might want to skip through and get a sense of it, but having the whole thing available to them definitely seems to make sense to me. It's not something you want to have up on your website for obvious reasons, perhaps, but it's something that bookers may well find valuable to helping to make the decision about whether they book you or not.
Yeah. And I mean, you can have it on your website. You cannot have it on your website. You can embed the playlist onto your website, as a form of credibility of like, here's all the stuff that I've done. I know that there's a lot of folks who on their about pages have links to all of their speaking engagements, podcast interviews, everything like that. One thing that I did want to touch on is, we've been talking about audience engagement and interaction.
Yeah.
And if you are a speaker who is going to get very interactive and engaged with your audience, perhaps like going out into the floor and, giving the mic to, somebody to answer a question, I would say give your videographer a heads up that that's going to happen so that they
For
can
sure.
prepare for it. Otherwise, your footage might not come out the way you want. I always have a 2-camera setup when I'm capturing footage for my speakers, just, in case of that. But also, I always ask them ahead of time, hey, listen, if you're going to go out there, I need to know so that I can prepare one of the cameras to get that angle.
Yeah. This has been good. I think you've given a pretty comprehensive overview of what's needed to create your demo video, if you already got one, or maybe to pull this together or maybe upgrade the one that you have currently. So thank you for that. It's really valuable. Hopefully our listener does understand very clearly why this is such an important media asset for them to have for their future bookings as they go forward as well. And one thing I would sort of say as well, just to add to this, is I often hear people talking about the sort of the costing and the resources that they have available and things like that. And this is one of those things that doesn't really have to rely on what resources you currently have available to you. But this is where you can get creative and get resourceful and maybe even find other speakers who are looking to do similar objectives and work together if you can do that. Because there's always a way to make things happen with this. Don't be limited. Don't be limited by your current lack of resources or that, oh, I don't know how to do this. There will be a way forward if you're determined and resourceful with it as well, I think.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to how determined you are and what your ultimate goals are. As with anything, there are going to need to be resources used, time, energy, money, to create these pieces of content, to create the demo video, the speaker reel. But if your ultimate goal is to get up on stages where you're getting paid, 5 figures or more, then at the end of the day, the investment to make it happen is going to be a huge return on investment.
It's almost insignificant by comparison, really. So yeah, very good point. Bernadette, thank you so much. This has been a valuable conversation. I think we've covered pretty much every aspect of demo videos that people would need to be able to get started and make their demo video. We look forward to hearing back from you, our listener. When you've got your demo video made, come and share it with us. How did it go? How did you make it? Where did you get started? What bits of advice did you find most useful? For our listener, Bernadette, if they would like to get in touch with you and find out more about you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So I am on LinkedIn, Bernadette Marciniak. I also hang out a lot on Instagram because I am a millennial. That's kind of what I was brought up with. Also Bernadette Marciniak. And if you'd like to check out my website specifically for speakers, you can go to soulhousemedia.com/speakers. And Soul House is spelled SOLHAUS.
But all those links will be in the show notes for anyone who would like to come and connect with you and find out more. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us today on the show. Really appreciate it. And thank you for being my guest on Professional Speaking.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
One thing that's really important to remember, I think, at the end of this conversation is that you can still get booked without a demo reel. But having the demo reel is going to be a huge advantage to you. Very often when prospective clients come to me and I take a look at their websites and they say, oh yeah, I've got a demo video, they send me a link to their demo and I watch it and think it's not really a demo video. And the reality is bookers aren't going to bother letting you know that your demo video isn't actually a demo video and isn't what they're looking for. They want to see what you can do on stage, they want it to be somewhat cohesive, and they want to know what you can deliver and what the experience of booking you as a speaker is. Now, there's a degree to which some of that can be conveyed through a good abstract or talk description and through your conversation and communication with the bookers that you connect with. But having a demo reel that highlights those things for you, even if you have to hire a stage for an hour or so to record some elements, if you can, splice it in with show footage or podcasts you've been on. Splice it in with any other gigs you've done, if you've done some storytelling or some stand-up or anything like that. So long as it's suitable, you can put some of that in, or at least put some of the clips in, maybe with music rather than with audio. I think there's a lot you can do here, but it is going to be better for you to show that you can deliver on stage than to not have that at all. So whilst I say you can absolutely get booked without a demo video, it is a huge advantage for you to have it. I hope this episode has inspired you to go and make your own demo video if you don't have one. Maybe you do have one, you're thinking it's looking a bit old now and it's time to update it. Well, that would be a great thing to get onto as well. I'd love to see your demo videos too. If you want a quick review of your demo video, by all means, send it through to me. You'll find the contact links in the show notes for this episode or in the YouTube description. Coming up very soon, I have an episode with Brian Miller, who's recently released a book called The One-Page Keynote. It's all about how to make sure that your keynote has all the elements in it that are going to be compelling and engaging for your audiences. And that's really critical for anyone who is speaking professionally or otherwise. He specifically talks in his book about the lack of a need for charisma, that you don't need to have this good, highly developed charisma to have a successful talk. Well, I had some thoughts about that we got to discussing. That's all going to be coming up pretty soon on the show. If you're not already subscribed, please make sure you do. Otherwise, you might just miss some of those great episodes coming up. And wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, have an amazing rest of your day. Go and do something worth talking about. See you next time.